I created Ready, Set, Recover because I needed it. I was going to have surgery, but like 92% of all people who have surgery, I got anxious. I have a wellness background, and I looked at what from my background, what from other programs could I take, could I use during this time? And then I talked to other professionals, what do I need during this time? And I created a little program for myself.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and itself. Joining me today is Heather Campbell, the author of Good is Amazing and founder and CEO of Ready, Set, Recover, a revolutionary new program that is helping individuals get through surgery without the mental stress and anxiety. One person even said that it was someone like holding their hand going through a dark, super powerful. I'm excited to discuss about Heather's program and discuss how she broke through the B2B market to spread her program to those in need. Thank you, Heather, for joining me today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
And you've really developed something unique. I'm a professional sports player, actually a professional paintball player, and I have to go through a lot of my friends going through surgery that mentally is just destructive, right? They work their whole career in their lives to be good at a sport, and then they go through surgery. But so many people are going through surgery throughout their life, and there's no program that really supports the mental process that goes through. Can you talk to me a little bit about your backstory and how this idea came to be and kind of what it is today?
Sure. Yes. I created Ready, Set, Recover because I needed it. I was going to have surgery, and I had a great surgeon who was wonderful. But like 92% of all people who have surgery, I got anxious. Now, when I say that number, it always kind of cracks me up. I do want to know who the 8% are who are not nervous. Like, I want to meet that 8%. I have yet to meet them. I meet the 92% who are anxious. But I was nervous. And so when I get nervous, I like to do something. I like to take action. And I also believe in frameworks. You know, when you learn a sport, you go to a coach, you join a team, you get into a framework. So I went online to look for a framework to help me. And Google told me that I could take pain meds or I could do PT. And I thought, that's not what I want. I want to do something. So I have a wellness background, and I looked at what from my background, what from other programs could I take, could I use during this time? And then I talked to other professionals, what do I need during this time? And I created a little program for myself. And after my surgery, I'm talking with my surgeon, who's very happy, very proud of himself. Surgeons, the surgery's been phenomenal. But he was also a really smart and good guy who recognized that my participation in this had changed the outcomes. And he said, I wish all of my patients could be like you. And I incredibly naively said, oh, okay, I'll go start a company. How hard can that be?
And that was the birth of this program. I mean, one, I love the fact that your naiveness that you brought up there at the end, because it's not that easy, right? Especially in the B2B space. I mean, you're breaking through major gatekeepers and boundaries that you have to go through to just be able to talk to the right person at the right time to find success. So, I'm curious, you have this aspiration of getting people to do the same thing as you did, whereas breaking through the anxiety and the problems that come with just a fear that you have to go through surgery in the first place.
Right.
When you decided to go about it, what was your first steps? How do you actually start building this business?
So I created what I like to refer to as the crayon MVP. It was very simple. I created a push email that I sent to people for, I think at that point it was like 16 days. And I wrote them a letter. Really, Ready, Set, Recover is like a medically knowledgeable friend showing up and saying, hey, this is important. You need to pay attention to this. You're doing a couple of things. You are making decisions you might not even recognize are going to influence the outcomes. So I created a push email, and people bought it, and people said it changed their lives. And at that point, I thought, okay, that's lovely. That's nice, but that's not a company. You need more than a push email sent, to people who have heard about me. So honestly, I let it kind of just sit there for a little while. And then a serial entrepreneur came and said, this needs to be more. You need to create an enveloping online platform. This needs to be supporting people with the behavioral, emotional, logistical aspects of surgery. We can do this. And he knows the user experience side and really focused on creating exactly that. It is a beautiful, easy to use anywhere you're going to be, if you're on your phone, if you're on the computer, if you're on your iPad, however you like to communicate. And he took time and energy, and we took a lot of time and energy to create something that was user-friendly, focused, and had data-driven points behind it in order to really look at, again, that behavioral side, cognitive behavioral therapy. How are people actually going to engage? So it really transformed from my simple emails to something much more.
Now, let's put a little timeline to this. When did that first push email go out?
The first push email went out, I don't even know, a while ago. It was a long piece of the process, and then honestly, I let it just sit for a while. I recognized, again, that entrepreneurial piece of what's feeding you and what do you need? It wasn't feeding me, and so I actually got a job, and I went and did something else. I was, in charge of alchemy at a media company. I have really weird titles. I've been in charge of synergy at ESPN. I've been the synergist. I've been the alchemist. Now I'm a CEO and author. So it just kind of rested for a while. And then this entrepreneur came, and in the last 2 years, again, it's not easy to build something that really is user friendly. Take the time and think about how are people going to engage. And also, when we first started, again, thinking about that entrepreneur's pathway, we thought we'd be going direct to consumer. That was the plan originally. Patients are the ones who need this. We'll go directly to patients. The reality, though, is patients, the thing I hear the most from people when I tell them about what I'm doing is, my gosh, I wish I knew you 6 months ago or last year, because patients aren't thinking about what they can be doing. Patients are scared. Again, they're anxious. And they want to just put this all on the shoulders of the surgeons. That's lovely to think, oh, these other people are going to take care of it and I don't have to be doing things. And the beauty of what we're doing, what we do is say, you actually already are a part of this. It's not that we're adding more onto your already busy, scared schedule. You're doing things already. The way you're doing them, though, might be hurting you rather than helping you.
Heather, how powerful for the entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this, it's a path that I've heard 1,000 times before, right? You start a business because you have a great idea and you want to help the world and you want to give an idea that's going to support the people around you and make them better. But then when you go into a business practice, one, sometimes you don't have the fire, like you were talking about. There just wasn't that ignite that initially comes at the start of the business that allows you to flourish and take off, and it fizzles out a little bit. I have a few more questions about that in a second, but the real thing that you brought up was the positioning of the product in the market. We wanted it to be direct to consumer. We thought that this would be the best way about it, but the hardest thing is there's no way to target someone that just got in an accident and needs a surgery, right?
Right.
There's no way to identify that consumer outside of the person that tells them they need a surgery, which is their doctor, right?
Right.
So your best targeting, bar none, is not the person that's actually in the use of the product, but it's the person that's supplying that service as more of a medical recommendation, right? And he's the one that's saying, this is the person this is how you're going to have to move forward. And at that keen moment right there is when your product comes into service. Let me ask you, as you're going through this, is this mainly used for like athletes that are getting in their own head because their career might be over? Is this used by just the everyday consumer that slipped and fell and they don't know how they're going to live their life or go to work? Who is this being used by?
It's being used by everyone. Everyone. So when we look at what we're doing in our program, so it's a 24-day program, ideally 16 days before surgery and 8 days after, which is long before the surgery. So we're talking about elective surgeries, which means something different than, again, to layperson. That sounds like, oh, I just choose. Elective surgery means planned. So it's a planned surgery. It's not an emergency surgery. So within these planned surgeries, the reality is surgery actually starts the minute you hear the words you need surgery. That's when surgery starts. Because from that moment on, you're going to be taking actions and making decisions around that surgery that are going to help you or hurt you. We're helping you look at those decisions, things like advocating for yourself. When you're having surgery, you're dealing with a surgeon, not always the easiest people to raise your hand to, ask a question of. They are very confident people. And it's interesting, in creating this company and having these conversations, I have a lot of people malign their surgeons. They say not nice things about surgeons. My take on it is this. If I were to tell you I have a bone-eating lesion, it's eaten a third of my bone, it could shatter at any minute, most likely you, Kyle, are not going to say, oh, come here. Let me cut that open and I'll take that out and then, I know, I'll put in the crushed up bones of a cadaver. That sounds good. Yeah. And then I'll sew it up. Yeah. Come on over. That's weird.
Yeah. Yes, a little weird. Yeah, but a surgeon does it immediately.
All that. So I'm okay with you, surgeon, being laser focused on that medical side so you can go do that really weird thing of cutting open my body, changing something and sewing it back up. But the rest of us have to recognize, again, there are things around this that are affecting it. So one of the elements of our program is advocating for yourself. Another part of our program is writing the story of your surgery. When you have surgery, you tell people. You tell people over and over and over again. So one of the things that made me so excited to come on your podcast, you are very focused on creating dopamine for your listeners and for the people who are your guests. You are trying to create that feel-good hormone. It is evident in the conversations that you lead. It's really important and beneficial to be creating dopamine. The opposite is, we've all heard other podcasts where they're creating cortisol. They're creating fear and anxiousness and anxiety. The story of your surgery does one of those two things. Are you telling a story that's creating happiness, or at least not creating more fear as you tell it? Or are you creating the fear? So we're helping you look at things, and we don't get into, we do say dopamine because it's a happy hormone, but it's not about the technical jargon. It's just about, these are the simple things you're doing. You're telling people about your surgery either because of logistical reasons, you need to get off of work, you need somebody to get your kid, or you're telling them for emotional reasons. You're feeling nervous, you would like support. Do it in a way that helps you. That's what Ready, Set, Recover does.
Now, with Ready, Set, Recover, is it really focused around the mental space and where you live? Are you giving advice on maybe not eating certain foods that are inflammatory and things of that nature? Or is it really just focused around the mental clarity and confidence that you're going to come out of this surgery in a really good spot and be able to go forward positively?
It's focusing on behavioral, emotional, and logistical aspects. So you're having knee surgery. I'm not going to talk to you about your knee. I'm not going to talk to you about that specifically. You've got a whole medical team that's going to focus on you, that should and hopefully does know your body, your situation, your criteria, all of that. I'm going to talk to you about somewhat simple things that no one else is going to talk to you about, that again will affect all the outcomes. One of the daily actions is called the surgery day game plan. So if you were going to go away, if you were going to go on vacation, you're going to go to Europe, say, you would think, what am I going to do? What do I want to, what kind of clothes do I want to wear? What should I pack? Do I need my passport? If I need to get to the airport, how early do I need to get to the airport? What time do I need to get to the airport? There might be a delay. How will I feel about that? When it comes to surgery, most people think, don't eat or drink after midnight. That's the entire plan.
From A to Z, that's all they have.
That's it. That's all they got. The beauty also of what we're doing, and I'm sure we'll get to this in a little bit about the B2B side. The beauty of what we're doing is when I'm creating less stressed, more engaged, more compliant patients, I'm not only benefiting the people, which is again why I started this, what's in my heart, but I'm also benefiting the entire medical establishment, the surgeon, the hospital, the insurance company, the employers. All of these entities benefit, their bottom lines benefit, and their people benefit when I'm helping create less stress, more compliant patients.
Heather, let's dive into that B2B side. Because as you said, you started us off with really focusing on the consumers, focusing on the people that are going through surgery and trying to help them as much as possible. But then you realize your best outlet to do that is really to go directly to the businesses that are guiding these surgeries and making the actual doctors use your product as recommendation. Talk to me how it is breaking through that wall. How do you get to a position where you talk to a surgeon, like you're saying, who is ultra confident, a little bit of a high ego, knows his stuff for sure, but bring a new product into his space and says, this is going to help you, your patients, and your business?
Yeah. So again, I know your audience out there, and you and I have talked a little bit. And of course, I want to say, oh my gosh, it's so easy. You just knock on their door, you go in and you say, hi, I've got this great product and it'll make everything better. And they say, great. Can we pay you lots of money for that? And you say, okay, sure. And then you just go home.
We all
I not in case not in case you can't see my face laughing. I have chosen one of the hardest industries to break into. It's at a time where things are very unknown within what's going to be happening. The reality is I'm looking for partners. That's how I break in. I start by talking with people and the good news, the beauty of what I'm doing, no one says this is a bad idea. When I talk to anyone in any of these circles and I talk about what I'm doing, if I give the gold standards of stress reduction in an easy to use format that's fun to use and engages people, might that be beneficial? Yes. Everyone believes that yes, it will be beneficial. But getting in is incredibly difficult. Getting in takes data. And that's actually where I'm at right now. I've got a bunch of partners that we are doing pilots with to gather that data so that I can say unequivocally, yes, Ready, Set, Recover is changing outcomes by changing length of stays, shortening them, fewer complications, better HCAP scores, better patient satisfaction scores, because when patients feel better and are less stressed, guess what? Everything is better. You're in a good mood, someone slams the door at you, you just open that door again. You're in a bad mood, someone slams that door, you want to talk to the manager.
yeah.
I'm going to make sure everyone else is as miserable as I am. But while everyone nods their head that yes, this absolutely makes sense, it is a highly regulated, highly controlled industry and also really, really thin industry. Like on average, you're going to talk to your doctor for 13 minutes on average. Any doctor appointment, average 13 minutes. That's not enough time to get through the medical side, the logistical side. There's not a area within healthcare where people are like, oh, how do I add something new that no one has talked to me about? My boss isn't yelling at me about. It's hard. It's very, very difficult. So, in terms of how you break through, I talk a lot.
Let's talk about your first pilot, securing your first pilot,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, you have to get this data so that you can actually
Yep.
become valid when you go to the sales process. Talk to us through getting that first pilot. Was it simply walking into the hospital and talking to every single person there? Was there a process behind it? Just so if listeners here are trying to break into the B2B space and they want a little bit of
Right.
this motivation of how to start the process, how did you?
So I wish there was within this you need to talk to the person who has this title and is at this type of a hospital, and there's no answer on that. It could be the innovation person, if they have an innovation area. It could be the chief medical officer. It could be a singular surgeon. It could be the CFO. It could be risk management. There are so many different areas that could be interested in talking with you about something like this. I've been Again, joke that I talk a lot, I do. And I sing these songs because I believe in it. I was at the pilot that we've got an IRB clinical study. In terms of doing a pilot, in terms of getting data, it's the holy grail. So that came about because I was at a conference where I go to often, different conferences that are focused on healthcare, and I was telling my story. And I was telling my story here, and I was telling my story there, and I was walking to a booth, and they'd start to talk to me about being their client, and I'd say, no, yeah, not your client. So sorry. If someone who could be your client shows up at your booth, drop me like a hotcake. Stop talking to me. But I'd like to talk to you and find out how has this been beneficial. And then, they look at my badge and they say, Ready, Set, Recover. What's that? And I get the 10 seconds to do my song. And someone at one of the conferences, I guess, had heard me do my song a lot and came up to me and said, I have an incubator that's working with entrepreneurs like you. We just actually started this week, so you are late, but would you like to join? And when someone does something like that, honestly, as an entrepreneur, you first might be skeptical. Like, yeah, what do how much is it? Is it $1,000? Does your incubator take 20%? Like, and luckily, while I'm aware I'm not, I'm aware of the way the world works. I believe that people want to help, just like you. Like this podcast. Like you're doing this to give information. You are doing this to build insight. So I said, absolutely, I'd love to learn more. Joined the incubator. They put us in touch with a number of different hospitals as a part of it. And two of them actually are hospitals that we are doing pilots with. So
Incredible.
yeah.
I mean, the one thing I definitely have to highlight there, and this is something that I say a lot to a lot of young entrepreneurs or someone that's been in a job for multiple years and decided to break free and to be an entrepreneur. You have to love your idea. You have to preach your idea. As Heather said, you have to sing about your idea and get it out to the masses. If you're not going to speak confidently about your idea and concept, who will? And Heather is a great example here of someone that found herself in the right space. Right? She went to events like we all should be going to because you have the highest density of population of people that you could work with. And then just confidently went from individual to individual and try to get her 10 seconds to explain the concept that she's trying to put in the world to help people and help the individual she's talking to. They might not know it yet, but that's what her goal is to get in front of them and make sure that they understand that this service not only is going to help their clients, but it's also going to help your your overall P&Ls, is going to help your overall revenue because as you said, you're going to get higher scores on your feedback surveys. You're going to get less time sitting in the hospital after recovery, and people are moving out quicker because they were prepped and ready and they understand the process they're going through because it is a black hole. It really, people don't understand what's coming in or what's coming out. Yes, your doctor can explain it, but with an average of 13 minutes per visit, how much can he really explain,
Right.
right? So Heather's
The
super
the
powerful.
the interesting thing too, again, within all of that with the doctors, right now within healthcare and everywhere, integration. Everything's integrated. We just integrated this and everything's in an EHR, all of these acronyms, everything's integrated. We have integrated the patient right out of the process. Patients aren't paying, it's in the portal. What am I supposed, it's in that thing of papers. I don't know. My doctor said they're taking care of it. We need to bring people back into their own experience. They actually, and it's hard. You want to be able to do that without shaming, without adding laundry lists of to-dos and you've not done. You need to bring people in. It reminds me of my high school chemistry teacher, Mr. Bolts. We were able for our final to bring in a cheat sheet, but it had to be on a 4x6 card. And in order to get all the information on the 4x6 card, you wrote it 5 times. And by the time you came in for the final, you never looked at the cheat sheet because you had done so much that you now knew it. With Ready, Set, Recover, we are asking surgery patients, hey, what did your doctor say in terms of when recovery is going to be? Because patients, when doctor says it's going to take you 4 to 6 weeks to recover, patients here 4 weeks, the doctor said 4. But they probably do those studies on people who are kind of schlubby. I'll probably be better than that. It'll probably take me half. It'll probably take me 2. So when they're 1 week into recovery and they're not halfway all better, because that's what is now in their mental state, they get pissed. They get angry. They're doing things that they think they should be doing when they're halfway recovered. We are having them rewrite that cheat sheet. We are having them for themselves look at things more deeply. And again, when we do that, it benefits the systems. I had one administrator, I was showing the platform and she's like, okay, go back to surgery day game plan. Like I said, the whole plan. And so walked her through that. And she said, okay, if I believe all of it, I believe all of it. I believe in the stress reduction and logistic. But if the only thing your program does is actually get people to my ORs on time, that's it. Like that pays for it right there.
Wow. So just there's so many factors that come into the surgery that your support through the entire process is helping in multiple different ways.
Right.
Heather, super powerful. I don't want to keep you for too much longer, but I have 2 questions that I have to ask to make sure our listeners are pulling as much benefit as they possibly can from you. One, on an entrepreneur side, on a personal side for you, Heather, is there anything that you would like to say to the listeners throughout your journey of becoming this entrepreneur that you would can give advice back to someone that's just trying to start their business? Anything from, maybe the time that you took away or your knowledge base or the people around you, but just one small snippet that you believe that all young entrepreneurs should hear as they're coming into starting their business journey.
Yeah. Know your runway. And an entrepreneur, they'll talk a lot about runway and it means money. That it's important as an adult. You have to take care of yourself. You need to put a roof over your head, food in your belly, health insurance. a little bit more. So there is the financial, but know your emotional runway.
Mm.
Know what you can do emotionally. And again, like you said, I had to put it away for a little bit. It wasn't feeding me. And I couldn't bring it. This is too hard to do if you can't bring your whole self to it.
Oh, I love
And around that runway also, in terms of knowing your runway, it would be who's there supporting you on that runway. You gotta have people to celebrate the things that happen. And okay, I know you said one thing, but I would also say celebrate. You've got to celebrate the milestones. It can't be I sold the company. Like, don't, if you're an entrepreneur and you are waiting until you make the first million or until you become a unicorn, like I'm gonna tell you stop. We need mentally healthy people out there. That's too hard. What are the milestones that you are going to celebrate? Again, I think about the first email I got from someone telling me that this helped them. Celebrated the crap out of that. I mean, that was everything.
Yeah, I love that. I always use bandwidth, but runway is great, right? Like your actual physical and mental capabilities that you can extend yourself to find the greatness. And Heather, the second one was needed. I mean, that one you definitely can't miss out. You have to have positive reinforcement for the things that you do. I mean, if you're listening to this and an entrepreneur and you're a parent, you know how powerful this is, right? I mean, I'm a young parent. I'm just starting to understand the process of everything that you give grace for, she will do over and over again. And it's the same thing in business. If you hit a milestone or you hit some level of success, if you want to hit that one again, make sure your mind and your body understands that that was a good thing. I absolutely love that, Heather. Last question for you. How do you find your Kaizen? You brought up a beautiful point. For the listeners out there, Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% improvement every single day in both business or itself, or taking small steps towards a larger goal. And you brought up an awesome aspect about separating because you knew it wasn't giving you the energy and the fire that you needed to put everything that's needed to be to be the entrepreneur that you wanted to be. But as an individual today, running your business, being now an author, a CEO, a founder, what do you do on a daily basis to find that opportunity in your mind and your body to constantly be progressing and moving forward?
Yeah. The book, Good is Amazing, really focuses on that. I am a believer. I'm reaching for good. That's what I'm reaching for, and I celebrate it. There are great moments within that, but I can find good every day. And within that, one of the chapters in the book is 3 things that make you happy. So here's again, back to that 1%, do you know 3 things that make you happy? And not things like going to Paris for vacation or winning the Nobel, like, no, 3 simple, relatively cheap or easy or free things that you could do on any given day. Do you know those? Do you have a list of things? And for me, the 3 things that I talk about in the book are writing to people I care about. I write a Friday card every Friday. Not happy birthday, not thank you, not big
Like a
congratulations.
physical card?
A physical card. Trader
Ooh,
Joe's has 99-cent cards. All right, it's a visual. I have a
card.
problem. I have
Yeah.
stacks of cards. So every Friday, I write a card to someone. I've got the list on my wall over there of who I've written to. And when I write that card, number one, thinking about the person makes me happy. Makes me happy. Just thinking about them. Then I think about them getting a card for no special reason. It's not their birthday. No one died. And I think I get happy about making them happy. Very often, almost 90% of the time, I get a call, a text, an email, or a card back from the person. And that makes me happy. So, can you find things within your own life that make you happy? Number one. So, number one, you have to know it. Number two, you have to do it. And then number three, back to what we just talked about, you have to celebrate it. You have to say, yay, me for doing that. That's a good thing. I enjoy that. Um, to me, that's what fuels the big stuff, the getting the pilots, the going to the conferences and being on for 12 hours on a show floor and wanting to talk to that next person, even though really what you want to do is go back to the hotel room and kick off your shoes.
Super powerful. I mean, really just leaning into what I consider affirmations, the positivity in your life and
Mhm.
finding that happiness. Heather Campbell, the author of Good is Amazing and the founder and CEO of Ready, Set, Recover. Thank you so much for your time. If someone had listened to this podcast and they want to know more information about either the book or your new program, how can they find it?
So for Ready, Set, Recover, it's readysetrecover.com. You can go in if you need surgery. While we are doing pilots and while we are working directly with surgery centers and hospitals, et cetera, I believe strongly that anyone who needs this program should have it. People can buy it for themselves. You can buy it for a loved one. It makes a wonderful gift. If you'd like to talk more with me about my book, about my public speaking, keynotes, doing workshops, I'm heathercampbell.com.
Absolutely beautiful. All the information is going to be found below in the show notes. If you guys have finished this podcast, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Heather, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see everybody else on the next Kaizen podcast.